We're here in Monaco for a one-of-a-kind Monaco Grand Prix. Night racing and no chicane after the famous Monaco tunnel. Instead, drivers will be full speed through it, and that has raised safety questions coming into this weekend. We'll have to see if this develops into anything as the days go on.
Let's hope for the best, Ted, as we're ready to see some cars on track.
Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of our F1 23 Driver Career Mode for a special Monaco Grand Prix, a one-of-a-kind unique circuit layout this weekend with no chicane, and we're racing under the lights this weekend here in Monaco's attempt to kind of reinvent this Grand Prix, keep it on the calendar going into next season as well, and no chicane at the end of the tunnel, and immediately it was sketchy. That is going to be a problem for someone. My goodness, that wall just sticks right out. You hear my feedback to the pit wall there now as that wall was sticking right out at us. I have a bit of a fear that's going to cause some problems this weekend, and other drivers might agree. You can see us going through it again there, and that's going to be a problem. If the car likes to kind of bounce there when you're going through the straight line where the chicane usually is, and if you aren't paying attention you can kind of lose the car a little bit, so you got to be careful, but practice, I mean, aside from that, went okay, but there was definitely concerns heading into qualifying specifically, as that's where everybody is pushing to the absolute maximum. But I don't think that's going to be a move that's going to increase overtaking or anything, because you look at it, side by side down there would be almost a death sentence, it feels like. So I feel like we're not going to see any more passing than we usually do in the Monaco Grand Prix. But we roll through into Q1 with kind of a lot of questions, more safety questions than anything on how this is going to go here under the lights in Monaco. I'm pretty confident in my own, capabilities here. It's not really that big of a deal to me. You can see myself keeping space between myself and that barrier that sticks right out at you now is actually have a quick bang on the right wheels there on the wall. But we immediately go into the top 5 P4, but I would make a second lap. I felt like there was more pace in the car and more potential, and I would prove that. About 0.4 of a second gain to the line, that will put us up into second place. So overall, pretty happy here now as we would bring it back, and as I was taking a look here now at the order, more cars headed out on track to try and get a second run in before Q1 is over. Huge crash in qualifying, and that's actually Zhou Guanyu in the Williams Lamborghini. Oh my goodness, the session would be stopped immediately as on board, and exactly what I was talking about. The car can kind of get out from under you with that wall sticking out. Watch right here on board with Zhou, and the car gets unsettled. He's trying to correct it back and into the barrier and out of the session. A huge accident.
Okay, Gary, there's a big crash exactly where we expected. The driver is fine, but we're calling an emergency meeting after qualifying.
An emergency meeting after qualifying. You hear Christian Horner let us know there. Obviously, Zhou does not advance. As you can see, the other ones running him out. Gasly, Sato, Tsunoda, and Vesti at the bottom of the grid. We roll through into Q2. Formula 1 says, we clean up the mess. We continue no matter what. So we're back on track, getting things rolling here with a lot of questions now for sure after that one. Really a big accident for Zhou Guanyu. We cross the line in Q2. We go P4, and again, I felt like I could find a little bit more, so here I am now looking for 2/3 of a second, nearly 0.4 of a second again. So we've gained about 0.4 on both laps, and this puts us top of the board here in Q2. Nobody would make any more laps. Everyone made their first laps, and everyone was too scared to go again, and that would hurt two drivers. The Trackhouse machine of Piastri and the Mercedes of Lando Norris, as the two Connor Sports of Mayer and Doohan knock them out. Lawson, Ocon, and Yuri Vips out as well in Q2, as Norris coming off of his victory last episode. Not what he wants in Monaco, where of course it's nearly impossible to pass. Albon goes into the top of the board there, P1, as he seeks his first win of the season after a podium last episode. P2, we go into third place, making a second lap one more time. What can we do? About 0.2 of a second in the first half of a lap or so, nearly 2.5 to 0.3 of a second here now, passing through the straight line chicane now, and here we go through the next chicane. Of course, it's just a series of chicanes at this point, but we are going to get a pretty decent gain, but then a long loss towards the end of the lap, and that's going to put us at only 2/10 gain overall. Puts us from P3 to P3 as Drugovich as well had gone top of the board, and he will be on pole position for the Monaco Grand Prix. Nobody wanted to make another lap again, just like Q2 after what we saw with Zhou Guanyu. The top three separated by less than a tenth. Mayer in P4 over Hamilton, Verstappen, Russell, Jackson, Doohan, and Leclerc. But there was a big meeting and drivers unhappy after qualifying.
My drivers will not be racing tomorrow. We're protesting this race in these track conditions.
Come on, Christian. Everyone is racing tomorrow.
I will pull my drivers out too. Joe could have gotten injured out there tonight.
I'm with my boss and Toto. I'm not racing out there.
It's far too dangerous out there. I'm with them too.
It's obvious that this is all about the show and not about safety.
Oscar is right. We at McLaren will protest this too.
I mean, we can at least try to come to a compromise here. The fans still deserve a race.
Max, any ideas?
Don't care. I will race in anything.
About what I expected you to say. Lewis, what about you?
How about this? We run the race with a gentleman's agreement to not go side by side through where Joe crashed. We know what to look out for and can be ready for it now. After that, you guys must promise us to never run this layout again. It's far too dangerous.
If everyone agrees, then you have my word for this to happen.
A proper road race, and in the true meaning of the word. That's how Mr. Monaco, the late great Graham Hill, once described this iconic event. The cars we drive have come a long way in the intervening half-century, but still we race on those same public roads beside the Mediterranean. There's no victory more coveted than that of the Monaco Grand Prix. The astonishing Circuit de Monaco is, for all intents and purposes, virtually unchanged since its inaugural race back in 1929. The faster cars of today ensure the 19 corners past the casino and along the seafront remain as thrilling as ever. A 2.1-mile lap here takes us around an entire country, yet never more than inches from the race-ending barriers. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Felipe Drugovich lines up on pole position, and Alex Albon lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Golden Boy, Mayer, Hamilton, Verstappen, Russell, Jackson, Doohan, Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Norris, Liam Lawson, Ocon, Yuri Vips, Sato, Tsunoda, Joe, Vesti, and Pierre Gasly picks up the final grid slot. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. Anthony Davidson joins me again for today's race. Let's have a chat about Williams. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
We've made it to the grid anyways. Everyone decides we will race tonight in Monaco after threatening to protest. And now we'll be starting on soft tires in the Monaco Grand Prix.
The formation lap gets underway then, and it's going to be interesting today to see how the dry conditions could affect the lifespan of the tires.
We see a pretty split strategy here from softs to mediums. Verstappen, Russell on medium, same as Jack Doohan, and then several cars in the midfield towards the bottom of the grid. But all of the top 5 drivers set to start on the softs here under the lights.
We're almost ready to start the race as the cars take their positions on the grid, with the drivers and teams making their final preparations.
All right, mate, just stay safe out there tonight. Let's escape here in one piece.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm going for the win, but as well, certainly want to get out of here alive. After all the drama, we're ready to go racing. Felipe Drugovich on pole position, looking for win number 2 on the season. Albon looking for win number 1. We are looking for win number 3. Kelly Mayer lined up there back in 4th position, with Lewis Hamilton set to line up 5th position in the Ferrari here now, as the pair of Williams Lamborghini cars coming up to the back of the grid. And now officially we are ready to go racing here from Monaco under the lights for the first time ever now, as it's going to be 5 red lights, and here we go. Lights out, we're racing from Monaco. It's a slow start from Drugovich. He covers us off immediately, and he leaves himself wide open for Albon to go around the outside and take the position. Hamilton to 4th, Mayer down to 5th place as she's side by side in the background with George Russell, but she is going to get ahead of him in that Mercedes machine. No Mercedes presence up here in the top 5. How about that? We continue on. You know, we started P3, we run P3, and now it gets tricky. There's Aiden Jackson up the inside of Max Verstappen trying to get the elbows out, but it's not really going to work in his favor, I don't think. Verstappen's got the advantage here through the hairpin. They continue side by side actually now to the double right-handers, but Verstappen would get enough traction, power down on the outside, that he would stay ahead of Aiden Jackson in that McLaren Toyota. Jackson, of course, with a win recently this season here in Qatar, as Albon leads the way now, and he is driving away now as we come through. Back to our POV on board, and you can see the gap is nearly 2 seconds between myself and Albon on this opening lap. Albon's been finding that pace all over again. He's had such a horrendous start to the season, but last episode we finally saw him in Mexico get their P2 on the podium. That was his first top 5 finish of the season, but he rebounds here after that into Monaco, and he's looking just as good here now. As you can see us going through that straight line chicane, we're going to keep calling it that, but we are starting to put some pressure on our teammate Drugovich, who, yes, started on pole, had a slow start off the grid, and he just doesn't seem to have the pace right now. Albon's now over 2 seconds ahead of me, and I'm right here on the back of Drugovich. We're driving away from the cars from behind, so we're both quicker than Hamilton, quicker than Catly Mayer. Passing so difficult for those cars back there, but I am putting a major amount of pressure on the back of my teammate of Felipe Drugovich, and at this point already we're only coming to lap number 5 of this Grand Prix, and we have 39 laps of racing total, but I felt like I was being held up here, needed a little bit of assistance. Hey, can you tell him to let me through? I mean, I am so much quicker right now.
He's not going to move, mate. He's already denied the request.
So after last week when I put no pressure on him in Mexico, doesn't matter?
I guess not. You'll have to get him the hard way.
Drugovich is not going to make it easy, and a little bit frustrating after Mexico when I took it easy on him going through the grid, following him through. So now, yeah, we got to get after it here, and we're putting some pressure on him here on lap number 6 and exiting turn 1. A bit of a tank slapper there on the rear left, but you can see us getting right on the back of him. This was the straightaway where you can get enough of a run now with no chicane that we have to slow down for, that you can get side by side, but it's just hard to get the power down as well. It's really sketchy through here to go side by side, so really focusing in still on the front straightaway as our overtaking opportunity. And now DRS overtake on as well on the battery, and we're right on the back of Drugovich to the left side to start lap 7 now. We'll try to go around the outside. He dives it in there, says no sir. We'll do the switchback to the right side, up the elevation here. Who's going to lift first? It's going to be interesting to see who's got it. Drugovich has us at the apex there, so I settle back in and set him up for another opportunity here, and hopefully a few moments time. Maybe we'll come back around one more time, but you can see just trying to stick with them and slipping and sliding around a little bit with the rears now, but pit stops will be coming in about another 10 to 12 laps or so. We got pit stops already kicking off for Oscar Piastri, who's getting a front wing replacement there. What has happened with Piastri? It was actually contact with the rookie Lotus driver of Yuri Vips. Yeah, right there on the back of him. I mean, I gotta put that on Oscar. I mean, he just drove right into the back of the Lotus machine. Now, Yuri Vips having a decent night so far, just outside of the points here. Now, as we're once again coming to the end of lap 8, coming to lap 9, right on the back of Drugovich now, to the left side again. Can we get him this time? This time we're going a little bit deeper. My goodness, it was close. We thread the needle, and through we go into second place, but look at the damage done. Now we are over 5 seconds behind Alex Albon here, who's, I mean, really set up to win this Grand Prix already now. As we come through to start lap 10, you see Albon ahead by 5.3 seconds. I've already put the gap to Drugovich on by about a second here. Hamilton a ways back now, but staying in P4. Catly Mayer runs in that 5th position. It's going to be hard to pass her. George Russell trying to do that now as you got Verstappen, Jackson, no Norris, Charles Leclerc just behind there, running at the top 10 with Jack Doohan, Yuri Vips there running 11th and 12th now as we come through that straight line chicane, and you can see the gap really not changing a lot to Albon. It felt like honestly I was quicker. It was more down to once I passed Drugovich, I was starting to struggle a bit more with consistency, and that had allowed the gap to increase unfortunately to 5.5 seconds in the next couple of laps. So Albon's not pulling away a lot, but he is pulling away here now. But you can see now as we start lap 13, keeping it at about the same. So the confidence starting to build. Okay, we're getting a bit of a stride here now, but it doesn't matter because as soon as the confidence is starting to build for the second time in 3 Grand Prix, the engine's gonna fail. Yep, it's gone. Oh my goodness, I swear to God, if we're gonna start this trend.
I'm sorry, mate, stop the car.
I've never heard Mark swear before on the radio, but that's our race over. Wow, frustrating to say the least. 2 times in the 3 Grand Prix, no mechanical failures to start the season, and now we have a few of them in back-to-back episodes here. Very frustrating to say the least now. And at the end of the night, it was Alex Albon who would get his first win of this season. It's been a while since Albon's won a Grand Prix after, of course, winning back-to-back world titles here in Season 4 and Season 5. Going into Season 6, things have just not been looking good for Albon, but he has really turned it around in the last couple of episodes here now. I mean, you think about Bahrain running good, had that self-spin, but then we went to Qatar and he had a mechanical failure after being up there in the top 3 along with myself, but now he bounces back with the second place in Mexico, and now a win here in Monaco. Is this a sign of things to come for Alex Albon? I have not written him out of the championship hunt by any means, and I can tell you right now, this is such a fascinating season. It's 23 races, this long, but the championship battle is still already currently a lot closer than I expected it to be between, the amount of drivers that are mixed in with it, and we're going to take a look here in just a second at that championship battle. As you got 2 McLarens on the podium, actually. Drugovich maintained P2, but how about Aiden Jackson, who managed to get up there on the podium? Or sorry, Jackson got P2, Drugovich P3, so it's a McLaren Toyota 1-2 for the first time in that partnership there. But yeah, you can see myself and Esteban Ocon as well had a mechanical failure, it looks like. Taking a look at the points after a disappointing day, Hamilton beat Verstappen as well, but we're down to P5, 24 points back. Drugovich ahead of Jackson by 4. Albon P6 in the standings, 50 points back. Russell back by 15. Norris back by 5. Hamilton tied with Albon right there. And Mercedes ahead in the constructors by 4 points right now, with McLaren Toyota starting to sneak in to the mix now. This is going to be really interesting. Next episode, we go to Portimao, Portugal, back on the calendar. I'll see you guys with that fun one. Thank you for watching, and have yourselves a great day.